667 will be our song after the invitation. I think we have everybody back in yet, so we'll give it just a second. I think the last big snow we had, like what they're talking about, was probably when I was in elementary school here, and it seemed like we were out of school for a month, but I think we were only out of school for a couple of weeks. But still, that was plenty. So I know one year we had to go on Saturdays to make up for it. We used to get so much. So this will be a different weekend if it really happens. We'll have to wait and see on that. What I want to talk about tonight is just an idea I had a few weeks ago when we brought up the parable of the lost son. There was just so many different things you could talk about in it, and one of them was resentment. And resentment is this. The definition is it's a feeling of anger because you've been forced to accept something you do not like or agree with because you've been forced to do something you do not want to do. So it's this idea of basically something you don't agree with that you either have to go through with or you have to just silently nod and let happen. It's different from jealousy where you sort of covet what somebody else has. You're upset because somebody has something you don't, and it's different than apathy because in apathy you really don't care either way, and that's just as negative as if you were jealous of something. Resentment is sort of a long-term deal. It's something that can eat at you, and it can eat at somebody for years and years. Resentment that they might have over something. In the parable of the lost son, I thought about in verse 30, it says of Luke 15, it says, "But as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, you killed the fatted calf for him." And I thought that was interesting because he couldn't even call him his brother. He just had to say to his father, "This son of yours." And I think that's something that happens quite a lot. Resentment is very tough to overcome because it typically, to get over it, you have to let go of a little feeling you have of pride or self worth. And it seems like that's something that people look down on more and more. It used to be something people sort of celebrate, but those John Wayne days are over and the hero days are sort of over. We have different types of people that are popular. I wouldn't call them heroes now, but it's just a different. It's a different culture. It's a different world. The reality TV and the reality shows we have streaming now sort of glorify bad behavior, and there's some shows and a lot of people in this world that glorify getting even. They don't glorify forgiveness and moving on. You know that seems almost unnatural. And I get it to a point because nobody wants to feel slighted. Nobody wants to feel disrespected. And we certainly don't want to feel like we're being mistreated in some situation. Now, when Cain murdered Abel in Genesis 4, in verse 5, it says, "But he did not respect Cain and his offering," talking about the offering that was, basically rejected. "And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So the Lord said to Cain, 'Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen?'" And countenance is a facial expression. It's just a person's face. And I think this gives us the idea that resentment is just written all over our face. We can't really hide it. It's hard to just sort of keep that inside. So it's something that can get into a family. It can disrupt a family unit. It can disrupt a relationship. There's a lot of dangers in being resentful, and it can lead to other things like we were just talking about what things that sin lead to. And I think resentment can do a lot of damage if we don't stop it from getting into our lives. Resentment may not lead to something as drastic as murder, as we read in Genesis 4, but It doesn't have to for the damage to be done and for the damage to go on for years. It can linger with us and it can consume our positivity, can consume our happiness, can consume the positivity and happiness of people around us. Resentment is contagious and it just chips away at you and it chips away at how you participate in things and just what you bring to whatever gathering you go to, whatever friend unit you have, whatever, people that see you at work. It's hard to hide when you're resentful. I know I've worked with people in the past that were just negative people, and when they came to work, they brought that negativity with them, and it spread because people like to gossip about negativity in the workplace, so it spreads even more. So resentment is sort of an anchor. It can we can let it go, or it can just pull us right down in through the water, and it'll hold us down there if we don't have the strength to let go of it. So, what can we do to let go of resentment? I found this article online. I guess that's where you find everything on the brain that is the internet these days. And I don't know who this writer is. His name is Preston Poor, but he shared 4 steps to getting rid of resentment in your life. And I thought it was interesting what he wrote, and I agreed with it. He said, in step one, acknowledge your anger and drop it and just move on. It's okay to be angry at first, but don't allow it to last. Let go of your anger when you've been offended or wronged by someone, and don't harbor it. Anger can lead to hate and violence. Resentment will break you if you're not broken by it. Put down the poison and move on. And of course, that's easier said than done. I understand that, but it's something we have to work at. Step two is stand in their shoes. Realize everyone is imperfect. We need to remember that God forgave us, and you should extend mercy to those who hurt you just the same. Step three, respond with good, not with revenge. Forgiveness is a decision, not a feeling. Ask God to change your heart. Pray for these things. Try to stay positive. Remember that love is patient, kind, and doesn't seek its own way. And step four, pray for those who have offended you. If you're going to pray for your own forgiveness, you should pray for the forgiveness of the person that has offended you also. It should be a two-way street. In Ephesians 4:31 it says, "Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you." Yeah, I think the main problem with all of this is we just see forgiveness as weak these days, it seems like. It seems like, more and more, I drive a long way every day now and I see craziness on the roads, just anger. And there can be no traffic and there's somebody angry and just flying in and out of traffic. And I saw a guy today just pull in front of all these people in the rain. And I mean, he was close to just causing a multi-car accident. And I thought, what happens to that guy if he kills someone or seriously injures someone, or even or himself? Typically, they don't hurt themselves; they hurt somebody else, and they walk away from it. But it's just so dangerous what can happen in just a split second when we're not thinking. And if we act with resentment and we don't think, we can damage relationships permanently. Permanently. And we need to think about that. We need to think about our impact of our actions, especially as Christians. When they see us, do they judge the whole church? Do they judge everything that we supposedly stand for because they see us react poorly to something or harbor some resentment in our heart and they see us carry that around? So, a lot of things we need to do. And the first thing we need to do is let go of these things. And hopefully, none of us are resentful. And hopefully, we can let things, be cast aside from us. And it'll make us better, not just better Christians, but better people. We'll be able to think more clearly as we deal with the really tough things in life. There's no point in putting one more tough thing on yourself that you can let go of. I thought it was kind of interesting to talk about resentment tonight. When I get up here and talk, I talk about things I've been thinking about, things that, I need to work on or things I need to learn from. So that's kind of what my goal is for 2026. Every time on a Wednesday to come up here and just talk to you about a simple idea I've been thinking about. And hopefully that will be as helpful to you as it is for me. If you do have need tonight of the invitation, this is the time we come forward and you have the ability to ask for the prayers of the church. Or, we say don't put it off because we just don't know when we have that opportunity again. We don't know how much time we have left. So we need to act while we have the opportunity. So if you do have need of the invitation, please come forward while we stand and sing this final song.